Welcome to the West Ham Weekly on the West Ham Voice on a Monday night. Thank you all for joining me. We've got something to smile about, haven't we? Finally, it's been a long time coming, but I'm going to talk about the game a little bit later on. And for those of you who may have watched my show on Sunday, I did an impromptu show with a special guest, Graham Lindsay. Thank you, Graham, if you're watching or if you're going to watch later. Thank you for coming on. It was a bit of a pilot show to see how it would have gone by asking you, the viewers, if you'd like to come on and give your opinions on how you saw the game going. So my thanks to Graham who did that. And if anybody would like to do that again in the future, all you got to do is just send me a message on the westhamvoice@gmail.com and we'll have a chat and get you set up for, I'll probably do another one on Sunday, maybe not as late. But I'll probably do another one on Sunday to talk about the Brighton game. So if you're interested in coming on for a few minutes, have your say on the Brighton game, then do message me on the westhamvoice@gmail.com. And my apologies to Steve Tiley, who was also meant to come on Sunday, but unfortunately I kept changing the time. And the poor bloke turned around and said, unfortunately, the time that you've now planned it for, I can't make. So my apologies, Stephen. Anyway, welcome to the show. Plenty to talk about, of course, as usual. But first of all, let's talk about what happened before the game. And that was, of course, Bobby Moore remembered. A day after the 30th anniversary of his passing away, it was honoured before the game at Nottingham against Nottingham Forest. Still the only Englishman to lift the World Cup trophy. Tragically died at the age of 51. I'm sure you all know the story, but it was a nice tribute to have paid him. I hope Declan was watching. Well, he certainly was. He was there. And wondering that he too could stay on at West Ham and become an equally the same sort of legend as Bobby Moore did, and maybe lifting a trophy as well. Rice actually said that he'd love to emulate Bobby's footsteps in lifting a trophy at the end of this season. Well, stick with us. Lift the Europa Conference trophy at the end of this season, which is the equivalent to the Cup Winners' Cup trophy that we won back in 64-65, and then go on and lift the European Championship as the second West Ham captain to lift the trophy for England. I mean, we'd be dining off that for the rest of our days, wouldn't we? Come on, Declan. You know it makes sense, mate. Anyway, talking about a European conference, the draw was made, wasn't it, the other day? After a 4-month break, the Europa Conference League is back. Well, it will be for us next week. And of course, around 400 fans will be lucky enough to go to Larnaca in Cyprus having a ticket, give or take 400. We still don't know how many we're going to get because it hasn't been confirmed yet whether they're going to play at Larnaca's ground or whether they're going to move it to the bigger stadium, the National Stadium in Nicosia. So as it stands at the moment, Larnaca's stadium holds about 8,000 in total. So our allocation will be 350, 400-ish. However, if they go to the National Stadium, which they've done for previous games, I think they did it for the Champions League when Larnaca were in that. I could be wrong, either Europa League or Champions League. It would hold a bigger 22,000 and we'd probably get just over 1,000 tickets. So all to hope for. The Cypriot team now, people are saying, oh, it's a farmers league, etc. And I'm not going to stick up for Larnaca because I don't really know much about them apart from the research I've done. But I don't think there should be a team to be taken lightly. They beat the Ukrainian team, Dnipro 1, to get through to the last 16 of this tournament. They snatched a goal in the latter stage of the first leg in the knockout stage, and then they got a 0-0 draw in the second leg to go through to the last 16. They're a relatively new team. They've only been founded in 1994, and they've been Cypriot Cup winners twice and Cypriot Super Cup winners once in the 18-19 season. They adapt between a 4-2-3-1 and a 4-3-3 formation, depending on the quality of the opposition they play. But an attacking 4-3-3 has always reaped benefits for them in this competition and in the Europa League before. They sit top of their Cypriot League at the moment by 1 point. And striker Omri Altman is their top goal scorer on 11 goals. I think he got a goal in this round, but I'm not sure. They started their European campaign in the Champions League this season, unable to qualify for the group stages, thus falling into the Europa League. Having finished third in their group, it put them in the playoffs in the knockout stages for the Europa Conference. Look, our form in this calendar year has somewhat improved in this calendar year. But having said that, we haven't done that well, as we all know, throughout the whole season. Larnaca go into this game on the back of 2 defeats and 3 draws and 1 win, so their form isn't great. They've just had a long winter break in Cyprus and will be going back to regular football soon. So maybe they're just brushing off the cobwebs and might be ready for us when we play them next week. Just like a few other teams, all their recent games have been in the Europa League of recently. And as I said, they knocked Dnipro 1 out. Look, we all know where we are. We're at the wrong end of the league, yet our form in this competition has been superb. 100%, the only team with 100% form. We absolutely smashed the group stage with 6 wins, scoring 13 goals and only conceding 4. Many people say that it's because we haven't played anyone of real worth that we've only just we got that result. Maybe so, but we can't be too complacent in this competition because we could easily get stumped by a team like Larnaca. And God knows who else will play in the next round, because there's some interesting games coming up. And I'm going to do a more thorough show about the Europa Conference, go into a lot more detail about every team that's left in the competition. But we got some favourites there. Villarreal should be Anderlecht in their 2 legs. Basel against Slovan Bratislava. Don't know. Might favour Basel a little bit. Fiorentina have looked good, but Sizispor from Turkey aren't no mugs in that competition. I don't fancy Ghent against Istanbul Başakşehir. I think they'll win that. And then there's Lazio against AZ Alkmaar. That's not going to be an easy ride for Lazio either. And then we got the Polish team, Lech Poznan against Djurgårdens from Sweden. I can't call that one either. That'd be an interesting one. And then quite a juicy tie between Sheriff Tiraspol and Nice of France. I think Sheriff will actually win that. So there's still going to be some interesting teams left. So if we get through this one, it will be very interesting to see who we get in the next leg in the last 8. Do you know what? When I've looked at the form of some of these teams, everyone's fearing, for example, Lazio and fearing Fiorentina because they smashed Braga 4-0. They're not doing that well in the league. But I will do a longer show, a proper show purely on the Europa Conference League and the teams left. So do look out for that. It's good. I think it's great. I'm on a half promise for a ticket, but I might have to go into the Cypriot end. Who cares? I'll still be there if I can. I'm waiting. I might not go, but let's see. But I'm looking forward to it. But we've got other games to come up well before that. We've got Man United in the FA Cup. We've got a bogey team in Brighton at the weekend to worry about before we even get to thinking about AEK Larnaca next week. But all something to look forward to. Right, let's see who we got in the chat and we'll say hello before I go to the next part of the show. I'll scroll all the way up as I normally do. Good evening to you, Lord Patrick. Are you early? 7:51 that was. Oh, 7:49. Yeah, you were very early, but nice of you to join. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Debbie and Mark. Would love to see a 4-3-1-2 formation tried out that sees Skamaka and Ings up front. A lot of people are asking for that. Bowen or possibly Benny as central attacking midfielder, Souček, Rice, Paqueta, and midfield 3, or even Flynn Downs and same back 4 as before. Interesting. That'll open us up a bit. But who would you drop? It looks like you've got Souček in there, you've got Rice, Paqueta, you've got Benny in there, you've got Bowen in there. Who are you dropping? There's someone you're about, but interesting. Yeah, I don't know if that will happen. I think that might. I'm going to get to the team news, or what I think the team news might be in the FA Cup against Man United. So I'll talk about that. And you might not necessarily get Skamaka and Ings, but you might get Skamaka and Antonio, possibly. Debbie and Mark again. Any truth in the rumours Newcastle 9 up Paqueta? It wouldn't surprise me at all. I think I saw that come out late tonight. Of course they're going to be interested in him. Why wouldn't they be? You know, we've got really demonstrated what a great player he is, Paqueta, settled in nicely. Of course they're going to be, teams like that are going to be interested in him, but don't worry about all that rubbish. I'm not going to talk about transfers until ish time. Vinay, good evening to you. There is a winning formula so long as Moyes doesn't revert to a defensive football and accepts Declan's advice. Ideally, he would stop being so stubborn and start Areola. I think Moyes listened. Well, yeah, I'm going to get onto Areola. I'm going to get onto what Declan may or may not have said. Who knows? Foxes, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Daniela, good evening to you. To Debbie and Mark, it's crap stirring by the Big Six. Of course they are. Of course they're going to want Paqueta, and I agree. Look at what they've been doing with Declan Rice since the day he started playing senior football for West Ham. How many years have we been listening to Declan's going? We know eventually he'll go. He might not. He might sign that extended contract and become the next Bobby Moore of West Ham United. But in all seriousness, we know, every time a team like West Ham United, have a decent player amongst their ranks, all of a sudden, all the Big Six are looking at them. Happened with Di Canio way back. Man United were interested in him. It happened with Payet. It's happening with Declan. It'll happen with Paqueta. And I'm sure, I dare say, by the end of this season, we'll have half a dozen teams looking at trying to sign a Gerd as well. And Daniela's right. It is crap. It's just to, the social media and newspapers and all that sort of stuff love to stir it up. They don't like seeing class players at West Ham. They think they belong elsewhere. Load of twaddle. Good evening to you, John. I hope you're well. TalkSport put a clip up today of Moyes' presser after the game. He said in the clip, I won the game. Well, technically... Was he on the pitch and scored all the goals, set himself up? That pissed me off. I can imagine. But what you got to do, John, is do what I do and just laugh at that, because David Moyes, he's still on a sticky wicket. I mean, I put the sign up today saying, has he got a reprieve? I'm not so sure he has, because the pressure will be straight back on him after the FA Cup at the weekend. We've got to go and get results. We're only 2 points off. We're only 2 places off the bottom 3. We're nowhere near safe. 16th position looks all right, but our points tally doesn't. So there's a long way to go. So the pressure's on, and he knows that. Lord Patrick, I'm going to stop playing 60 days for the evening to listen to this. You're going to play 60 days. Stop playing. What is 60 days? What is that? Is that some... I don't know what it is, but I'm glad you did. Thank you. Good evening, Wolf. How are you? I've only just listened to the interview with Rice and Ings. Didn't expect Ings to sound young and innocent. He's not. Good evening to you, Matt. How are you? Thank you for joining, mate. Much appreciated. Wolf again. Would you go full strength against me? That's it. I'll get to that because I'm in a dilemma and I'm only a fan. So I can only imagine what Moyes must be thinking. There's a bigger dilemma with our defence than there probably is elsewhere on the pitch. We've probably got enough in our locker in midfield and in attack to actually put out almost a virtually different team. But it's in defence that I'm going to be looking at later on. Keith, good evening to you. Galispera to you. I hope you're well. Keith, I really want to go. So, I'm going in May anyway, but I just knew we were going to get Larnaca in the draw. And now I'm really sort of itching. I really want to go. Good evening, Peter. How are you? Thank you in advance. I was on time. Well, you did tell me to be on time when we were watching the under-21s, didn't you? John again. Yes, it's his tactics and his formation, but the players are the ones out there carrying out those instructions, not him. He is the head of the snake and only one that can be charged. Good evening, Howard. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. Much appreciated. Good evening, usual. How are you? According to reports, West Ham made a £36 million bid for Savage. Which Savage? There are no bids at this time of the season, to be quite honest with you, and that's why there are no bids for Declan either. And I think I saw one video where someone had him kitted out in an Arsenal shirt. How insulting. Apparently all the deals have been done. Declan has agreed a pre-contract agreement. He's not allowed. And Arsenal are not allowed. And he's not allowed. And nor is his agent allowed because he's under contract. And if we want, we can extend his contract for another year. So unless he hands in a transfer request, all this stuff, it's there to wind people up. But it goes the other way as well. We haven't made any bids for anyone at this moment in time. I have no doubt we're looking at players. And so we should be. That's what our scouting system is for. But I doubt very much at this time of the season we've made any bids for anyone. We don't even know what league we're going to be in next season, to be quite honest with you. Good evening, James. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Foxes again. I don't think we have the squad to worry about the cup, so Moyes will just defend. I don't know what he'll... Do you know, I really genuinely don't know what he'll do. Because I think when I look at the Europa Conference and I kind of... alluded to it a moment ago. We play a very different style of football. And I know people are going to say, like I said a moment ago, well, we haven't had anyone serious to contend against in the Europa Conference group stages, but we do seem to play a different style of football. And I just wonder what he might do against Man United. I mean, they're on fire though, aren't they? Of course they are. Wolf again. How does everyone feel after finally beating Brighton? The under-21s beat them tonight, didn't they? Good evening to you, Paul. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Howard, just watched the Di Canio goal on Italian Interview. Genius. Absolutely. We can do it. Good evening, Graham. Thank you for coming on Sunday, mate. Really much appreciated. And everyone commented as well how eloquent you came across. Neil, good evening to you. 7:45 a.m. in Southern Australia. I hope you're well, mate. Peter, Man United lost one game out of the last 22. Well, it's about time they lost another game, isn't it? And why not us to beat them as well? Good evening, Jerry. How are you? Thank you for joining. Good evening, Jason. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Aaron. Good evening, Bill. And good evening to you, Clive. How are you? I hope you're well, mate. Wolf, I like to see Scamacca playing just behind Ings as well, get some assists and his great passing. Yeah, I think it could work. I don't think it wouldn't work, but I just wonder if that will be the the lineup. Maybe going a little bit further forward. Maybe if we're looking for something different, Moyes might decide to do that during a game. Would he start that? I'm just trying to think of who he might drop, and I guess the only obvious player that you might drop from the lineup that was out on Saturday might be Souček to accommodate that. Would that be the right thing to do? Souček's been playing quite well actually recently, but I can see that working absolutely. Patrick, Stel, we are both wearing different shirts tonight. Well, that's good. At least they can recognise who you are and who I am. Otherwise, that would have been a problem. Robert, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Good evening, Epic. How are you? Forest has only one away win. Beating them doesn't mean that Moyes has turned things around. Moyes out? No, not saying it has. I actually just said it. I think we've still got an awful long way to go. We really do. And we've got to start showing the same sort of prowess as we did against Forest. But you can only beat who you got in front of you. And let's not forget, second game of the season, they did a number on us. I mean, it was interesting. Up to the 70th minute, I really thought it was going to go the same way as the first game did, where we were banging on the door and couldn't get a goal. Even a penalty, couldn't even score that. And I did think at one point, oh, here we go again. Forest are going to do a number on us. And thankfully, they didn't. Good evening to you, Sharky. Happy Monday to you, mate. I hope you're well. Matt, it was a good tribute. Absolutely. Made him proud. We did. Good evening to you, John. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Wolf, again, I would still want Moyes out. Maybe I'm just too positive now. I really enjoyed that game, and it was nice to see the fans and players happy. Haven't had much of it this season. Haven't had a lot of it at all this season. I don't know what happened, but I will talk about it in a minute, mate, without a doubt. Because I know what people are thinking has happened, but we can explore it later. Good evening, Andy. Hope very well. Let's hope Man United go with a weakened team in the cup. Even their weakened team is going to give me the shakes. Clive, yes, please subscribe. Please hit the like button, hit the bell notification, and all that sort of stuff. I should say it at the start of the show, and I always forget to. So thank you for mentioning it, Clive. Jerry, Moyes has to stay until somebody better comes along that wants the job. Graham Potter. Would you take him? Look how awful he's doing at Chelsea with all that. It's interesting. When Potter left Brighton, everyone was going, oh, well, Potter's now, Brighton are going to, suffer for it, etc., etc. Brighton have got a system. It's like, well, give us the next manager, give us the next player, give us this, give us that, and we'll just carry on, doing what we're doing, etc., etc. Ironically, Brighton seem to be doing even better without Potter than they were with him. Would you take him as a manager at the end of the season? I think that'll be an interesting debate, without a doubt. Vinay, Moyes is in and Moyes is out. Schrodinger's manager, it's because he has to take into account Declan's tactical advice and accept Sullivan's transfer. Must be hard for a stubborn old git. Well, maybe he did listen. James, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Lee, good evening to you, mate. Thanks for, mate, with pleasure. I hope you're well. I really do. I hope everything's good for you, mate. Bedfordshire Hammer, good evening to you. I hope you're well. John, despite what he says, still is conflicted. He is an Islington Cypriot. I am. That's where I was born. I was born in North London, unfortunately. Well, I can't choose where I'm born, can I? But I am conflicted. I'm not conflicted as to what team I want to support. I'm conflicted as whether I can get over there and get a bloody ticket. That's what I'm conflicted about. If I can do that, then I'm there. Good evening, Steve. I hope you're well. Yes, mate, absolutely. I don't know if you heard it as I started online. I do apologise for having changed the time several times, but as I said earlier, I'm going to do another one for the Brighton game on Sunday. I won't be doing it as late. You know, it's going to have to be about 5-ish, 6 at the latest. So if you're up for it, message me and we'll see what we can do. Wolf, do Larnaca usually sell out? They will definitely sell out in their little playground. Don't underestimate them, Wolf. I'm telling you, I think there's a good reason why they actually want to keep it at that ground, because it's quite intimate. If you remember our old ground, you know how close we were to the players, within touching distance of the chicken run, etc. It's a little bit like that. It's quite an intimidating little ground. Only 8,000, but they'll make a noise without a shadow of a doubt, and 100% they'll fill it without a doubt as well. You know, and we'll be lucky. I mean, if they give us more than our 350 allocation that they only committed to doing, or 350, 400 allocation, I'll be very, very surprised. But I think what they want to do is keep it at that ground rather than taking it to a bigger ground, because that they know that might benefit us with 1,000 fans there. With 300 or 400, we'll make a noise, but it will be intimidating. Do not underestimate them. Steve, only change I'd make for Brighton game is Skamaka up top with Ings. And although he's done well the last 2 games, dropped Socha. A lot of people are saying that. In all honesty, I think that would be a little bit unfair. But I get why fans would want to see that happen. Definitely. Epic. The Cypriot League is surprisingly good for such a small country because it's a tax haven and all the clubs are owned by shady business people who launder money through player transfers. Scandalous saying that about Cyprus. How dare you? But you're probably right. John, all those who can't get a ticket and don't fancy Iron Apple still. You know, here's the irony, you know, Iron Apple is nowhere near Larnaca. And even though it's a small island, it'll take a good couple of hours to drive from Iron Apple to Larnaca. So everyone's going on about we're all going to Iron Apple. Well, 3/4 of it, if not more, are closed because it's not the current season. So everyone's going to turn up at Iron Apple. There'll be about 3 bars open because everyone everywhere else is going to be shut. And also, public transport is shit in Cyprus. If you don't have a car, you're stuck. So you can imagine drinking and then going, how do we get to the game? Oh, did anyone hire a car? Who hasn't been drinking? We all have. Oh, well, we'll watch it on the screen in Larnaca, in Iron Apple then. Matt. Rice, there goes my script. Rice said West Ham is due a trophy. Well, we are. Some fans believe winning the ECL may see him signing a new deal if we show real ambition in Europe and League. But most fans believe he will still go even if we win it. You know, do you know, there is a rumour, there is a rumour going round that it's quite possible that Declan might decide to see out his contract. Because if he does, then he's a free agent at the end of next season and he can sign for whoever he wants. And they all given a massive signing on fee. He can go wherever he wants. He can dictate his own, even more dictate his own terms. So, it's a long shot, but it wouldn't surprise me at all, to be quite honest with you, if he did decide to stay. So let's see. Yes, West Ham faithful I was, and thank you for joining me again tonight. It's a different show tonight. This is a weekly update when I get round to it. It's a weekly update. Everything about, the team, not just about the game itself that was played at the weekend, but it's an update. So stay tuned. I promise you won't fall asleep. Well, maybe not. James, not bothered about the FA Cup. Need the Premier League survival. I do get that. So then why not just go for it? If we're not bothered by it, just go for it. Just go all out and see what we can get. If we win, we win. If we don't, then so be it. And focus on the league and the Europa Conference. 10 men. Spurs lost to Mura in last season's competition, so we are doing okay. Exactly. We have to be careful who we think we're playing. You know, we might think on paper it's going to be an easy win, but not necessarily. Let's scroll down and see who else is here. Good evening to you, Garino. I hope you're well. Good evening, Andy. How are you? Looks like Moyes will stay now until the end of the season, especially as Sullivan has no appetite in getting rid of him. Hopefully we can stay up and win the Europa Conference. Then Moyes out, please. It will be interesting. Do you know, I actually do genuinely think, even though Moyes has got 1 year left on his contract, I think that if Moyes does win a trophy, I mean, he hasn't won a trophy. Congratulations to him for winning the 250th Premier League game. You know, goes along with Sir Alex Ferguson and Arsene Wenger, but they've won things alongside that. So well done to him for doing that. But I just wonder if we do win that. I'm not holding up too much hope in the FA Cup, but certainly in the Europa Conference, if we win that, he might just turn around and say, "That's it for me. I've won a trophy. I've finally done it. I'm off." He might do it. Matt, for United, Areola, Johnson, Naif, Oggy, Emerson, Rice, Fornals, Paqueta, Bowen, Benrahma, Skamaka. I've got a few different thoughts, but I will come to that in a moment. Matt, Areola must start on Wednesday in the weekend. Love Fabianski, but we need Areola. Don't disagree. Vinay, Zuzak Gardans means Animal Park. Does it? I didn't know that. What a name for a football team. Is it a reflection on their fans? I don't know. What are their fans like? Because I know you live out there or near there or something. So yeah, that'd be interesting. English Yardie, if we get them in the next round, of course. Good evening to you. I hope you're well, mate. Good evening to you, Scott. Areola, Creswell, Kera, Ogbonna, Johnson, Downs, Rice, Fornals, Benrahma, Antonio, Skamaka. You're not far off, but I will come to that. Good evening to you, AT. I hope you're well. Right, I'll tell you what. Let's stop there and go into the first part of the... Well, I would say the first part of the show. I've done half an hour already. But let's go into the next part of the show. So let's crack on with the women's team played at the weekend in the FA Cup. And after a really poor 7-0 defeat to Chelsea in the League Cup the week before, there was more cup heartache for them where they got knocked out in the Women's FA Cup by Aston Villa at the weekend. This time their defeat was a 7-6 penalty shootout at Chigwell. Extra time and penalties were needed after Rachel Daly scored for Villa and West Ham's captain Dagny, I can never pronounce her surname, had the game level at 1-1 after 120 minutes. During this penalty shootout, it went to the keepers. Aston Villa keeper Hannah Hampton blasted her shot into the net, whereas our goalkeeper Mackenzie Arnold fired the 16th penalty spot kick of the game over the crossbar. So unlucky to them. They move on. All league focus now for the women's team. They're away to Reading on Sunday, so good luck to them. The under 21s play tonight, and I kind of caught a little bit of it. They beat Brighton 3-2 in the Premier League 2 fixture tonight. It was the reverse scoreline to Brighton narrowly winning 3-2 earlier in the season. Kamari Swire got us 1-0 ahead with Divine Mbama getting his 18th goal of the season in all competitions, of which 9 have been in Premier League 2 to make it 2-0. Brighton got themselves back into the game, then a penalty to give Mbama his 19th goal of the season made it 3-1. But Brighton pulled another one back with a couple of minutes to go in added time, and it was a bit nervy at the end, but we held on, and we're now 10th in the league after starting really poorly in the league this season. And we're 4 points off Brighton, who are 9th in the league. 6 wins out of 8 for the under-21s in all competitions, which is fantastic. So well done to them. And Divine Mbama, well, he's, forget Sonny Perkins, mate. Divine Mbama is the man that's going to be an awful lot better going forward. Spurs lost to West Ham over the weekend. The under-18s did it, where we couldn't in the senior team. The under-18s did it for us. We won 3-1 away from home at the weekend. After their recent, I was a bit disappointed, to be quite honest with you. After our recent 6-0 win against Norwich, then our midweek 4-2 win over Ipswich in the FA Youth Cup to get into the semi-final, we only put 3 past Spurs. What's going on? They're getting a bit slack, the under-18s, don't you think? Only scoring 3 goals in a game. But in all seriousness, the extent that the Young Hammers they've extended their points advantage to 18 in the league over Fulham, who are second in the league. However, Fulham do have a couple of games in hand, but nonetheless, even if they win those 2 games, it's still a 12-point advantage. 2 goals from Callum Marshall, who also made an appearance in the under-21 games tonight as a late sub. Capped off an excellent week in a hard-fought 3-1 win. The Hammers took the lead inside the opening 10 minutes thanks to Marshall's fine finish. Spurs hit back later on, but an excellent goal from Dan Rigg quickly restored the lead, and then Marshall's late strike added a third to ensure all 3 points went to East London. Well done to you guys. Fantastic. They are absolutely on fire, aren't they? The under 18s, and we question, well, what about our academy? Is it worth having, etc. And Mark Noble kind of alluded, or he said, the reason why we got rid of one or two players in the January transfer window was to actually allow space for some of these under 18s to push on in the under 21s, and quite possibly, let's see what happens, one or two of the under 21s might be a permanent fixture in the senior squad next season. We're going to have to replace up to another 6 or 7 players again at the end of this season. The last thing I think we want to do, whoever's going to be in charge, whether it's David Moyes or whether it's any other manager, I think the last thing we want to do is to bring in another 7 players again, as we did this summer. So maybe one or two of the under 21s might get their opportunity. Divine and Barmer being one of them. I think one of our keepers might as well. Joseph Anang, he's already part of the under. He's now our third choice keeper. There are other players that might break through as well. So it's something to look forward to, without a doubt. Right, let's go back to your comments and then I'll get on to the next part of the show. Andy, personally, we should focus on the Premier League and Europa Conference. Let the FA Cup go. We need no injuries and no suspensions. Not bothered this season on the FA Cup. I kind of agree with you. But like I said, given that, we think it's going to be... we might not beat Man United, then just go for it and see what happens. See what happens tomorrow night Wednesday nights. And who knows? If we win, we win. If we don't, then you're absolutely right. Let's focus on the league and let's focus on the Europa Conference. That's no bad thing at all. Matt, I think Ings and Antonio would make a good partnership, but don't think Moyes would play a 2 up front. I don't agree there. To be honest with you, I don't agree, because if you put Antonio in, you're then going to have to probably drop Benrahma or Bowen. And people are saying, well, play Antonio out wide, and play Ings in the middle. I think Bowen and Benrahma were a different level. Because they know they had Ings there on Saturday. And I wouldn't want to spoil that. With the greatest of respect to Antonio, I don't want to knock the guy, but no. Maybe with Scamacca, maybe a battering ramming Antonio and then Scamacca coming onto a ball, or the other way around. Who knows? But I don't know. English Yardie, greedy 7. Don't forget about Newt yet. They are all greedy. Well, and that's why they're looking at our players. They want to sign them all, don't they? Lord Patrick, you have to context for Moyes' comment. He was being asked about his results lately, so refer to him winning this one. Look, I don't read too much into it. It's his team at the moment, so yeah, I get it. How good is she at football? Matt, Brighton away, Villa at home, City away, Southampton, Newcastle, Fulham. Expectations all Brighton away. We should get a draw. Villa, we should beat at home. City away, forget that one. Southampton at home, we should win. Newcastle, we could get a draw from that. We've got a draw from them away. Fulham away, we get a draw from that. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How about 9 points out of those? Wouldn't be too bad, would it? James, speaking to Daniela, we need to watch the injury count. And now Soufal went off against Forest with a heel injury. He's been playing for a while. We can't risk getting players injured. As soon as we had a full squad back, we had 2 injuries, didn't we, at the weekend? Man, don't. Good evening to you. Glad to see a striker and Ings getting started last. I just hope this situation isn't going to mean that there's no place for Scamacca. He needs the right manager, I think. I agree. I hope it doesn't. And people have been talking about maybe Ings and Antonio, or Scamacca and Antonio, or Scamacca and Ings. You might see that. You might not necessarily get to see that at the start of the game, because I think the front 3 did really well at the weekend. But you might get to see something like that during a game. But I'm not so sure Moyes will start that. But I think it's a good shout. Alan, we can look at as many players as we like still, and we'll have rumours that Moyes wants this and that. But the truth is, Moyes shouldn't be picking any. He might not be here. I totally agree. And actually, to be quite honest with you, this is how rumours sort of go out of proportion, because I doubt very much Moyes has said anything about any player that he's interested in signing, to be quite honest with you, at this time of the season. Like I said, scouts will be out there. They'll be looking at players, etc. They might be putting reports into Moyes or to the board or whatever, and suggesting players. But for people to come out and say, we've made a bid for, we are going to sign so-and-so, it's a little bit premature. So I wouldn't put it on Moyes, because I think this is just the rumor mill that happens, day in, day out, just like the rumor mill with, Paqueta going to Newcastle or Arsenal, and also Declan going to Arsenal. Declan's already signed for Arsenal, according to some rumor mills. English Yardie, I'm watching Swansea versus Rotherham. Coventry is playing. Yeah, I know he is tonight. I found Zuma's replacement, number 23 from Swansea, Nathan Wood, good player. Don't know much about him, but thank you for that. Tell me how Coventry is doing, because he's done pretty well lately. Keith, as far as Man United are concerned, West Ham have a nasty habit of screwing things up for them, so we could just do it again. We absolutely could. Clive, Ings can't play domestic cup games. No, he can't. You're right. He's cup tied, so he won't be partnering anyone on Thursday. Well, it'll be Wednesday, not Thursday, but he can play in the Europa League. Good evening to you, Si. I hope you're well. Potter was only good at Brighton because of their setup. Exactly what I think. Jason, does Forest drawing the previous week against City show how a negative approach, their away setup hurts the team? Possibly, but who cares about them? Apparently, they scored only 3 goals all season away from home. I didn't know that because I didn't do my my research on them. Peter, Potter is like a goldfish that has jumped out of the fish tank at Chelsea. He is a fish. He is very much. He's out of his depth, isn't he? I mean, he looks like he looks shocked. He certainly looked shocked in the post-match interview at the weekend. He's like he doesn't. It's like he's been hit by a heavyweight boxer. Usual suspect. Potter being getting dogs abuse on the Chelsea. I know. I've got a mate who's a Chelsea fan. When we were playing Chelsea a few weeks ago, he said, I'm not going to the game. I'm a season ticket holder. Potter can F off. And this is a mild-mannered guy. And he's like, Potter can F off. We think we got it bad. Chelsea think they're having a shit season and they're in mid-table. But I guess for them, that is a shit season. But the irony is we all see things in the different perspective, don't we? My mate was going into one. I can't see us getting a result. If we get a draw, we'll be lucky. And look what happened. Good evening to you, Fred. I hope you're well. Is Moyes going to go for it at Old Trafford or back to a setup that don't work against the top 6? I say go for it. Like I said earlier on, why not? We've got nothing to lose. And as people have been saying, focus on the league, focus on the Europa Conference League, and whatever we get out of Man United, we get. If we don't, we don't, and move on. I agree. No reason why we should hold back. Monumental. That kind of money teams are offering for Paqueta. What's he now worth? Premier League proven. I don't think he's proven himself just yet. I think he's an excellent player without a shadow of a doubt. But we've apparently paid 50 million with all add-ons, etc., for him. If he continues in the vein that he's continuing, he might add another 5 or 10 million to his price tag. Keith, Larnaca is the other side of it. Exactly. I know, mate. People are going to be shocked at how far it actually is, especially with no transport, no public transport. What is it? A bus every hour? And that's normally in the summertime, let alone what's going to happen in what they call out of season. Good evening, Eamon. I would make wholesale changes, give our important players a rest and give run-outs to Scamacca, Emerson, Lanzini, Fornals, Cornet. Yeah, absolutely would agree with you on there. John. Moyes has said for him to play 2 up top, he would have to play 5 at the back, not a flat 4. And he would. If you remember, what game was it? When we had 2 up front, but we had no support for them. Damn it, what game was it? I can't remember. It was the Spurs game, wasn't it? Where we had 5 at the back and we just defended and we had no support at all. So it doesn't work. Chris, Stell, that's changed a lot lately. I live in Cyprus and use public transport. Really? Well, I take that back. Is there a regular bus that goes from Ayia Napa to Larnaca? Is it more than an hour? Let me know. See, I only go there as a tourist now, so there you go. I wouldn't know. Good evening to you, NWO. How are you? Rice is going to be real. Real what? I was going to real. I said that some time ago. I did a show about that. Real Madrid is an option for him. Graham, imagine the shot for the Larnaca players when they play the return leg in front of 60,000 screaming hammers. We're not going to have 60,000 screaming hammers unless that bloody train strike is off, which I hope it is, because I'm not so sure, to be quite honest with you. I don't think it's going to be. We're having trouble selling tickets for that game, to be honest. Eamon, he's got 2 years on his contract after this season. No, he's got 1 year plus 1 year. He has. I'll double check, but he has. We definitely couldn't ask for 120 million plus. I know we couldn't, but this is the question. And I've asked it before. Would you rather take the money and use that to rebuild, or would you rather keep him there and build around him over the next season or two? You know, I'm in two minds. I get it. Getting that 120 million, you can buy what? 3 very decent players for that. But at the same time, imagine now that the team is settling. You know, we might have a new manager at the end of the next season. The team is settling. Paqueta, world class. Rice, world class. Agerd, world class. All of a sudden, you start to think, might be something here. I kind of 50-50 on it. I wouldn't mind him staying, to be honest. So who cares about the money? Jerry, Rice won't play in the Championship. That's if we get relegated. I don't think we're going down. Having said that, good. Matt, we want that Lazio geezer to replace Rice for 35-40 million rather than spend on Conor Gallagher. English replacing English, both similar players in a way, but getting a younger player in Conor. We want that Lazio geezer to replace Rice rather than spend the money on Gallagher. Is Gallagher as good as or anywhere near Declan Rice? Over the Lazio player. I don't know which Lazio player. I know there's been a load of stories, but I can't remember which one you mean. Gallagher got a lot of potential, but is he on the level of Moyes, of Declan? I'd probably say no. NWO. Areola's made a couple of errors when playing. Fab's still doing all right for most part. I'd be honest, I still go for Areola, to be quite honest with you. Keith. The Swedes have Animal Park and we have Millwall. Jason, big if. However, if we win the ECL and stay up playing entertaining football, think Sunday, but on steroids, do you still want to change the manager? Look, you know, I think guys that watch my show regularly, I've not been a Moyes out advocate, but I've been veering towards it, especially, after the World Cup and we started playing the same football as before. We didn't seem to learn any lessons. And then it started to get even worse. And it was getting to a point where it's like, even I was saying, my God, something really has got to change. And Moyes is not changing things. Now, on Saturday, we saw changes. Will he stick to that? That's the big question. The big question won't be what he does against Man United. It'll be more what he does against Brighton at the weekend. All right, it's away from home. It's a bogey team. But nonetheless, if we put an outfit out like we did against Forest on Saturday, we stand a good chance against Brighton, don't we? They're quick, they're nippy, they're going to be a challenge. But nonetheless, we take a game to a team, then we're as good as anyone, aren't we? If not better in some cases. Eamon, Areola is a terrible at penalties. Yeah, but let's not give any penalties away or go to penalty shootouts. Hopefully it won't go to them. He dives way too early. He does, yeah, admittedly. He hasn't been great at penalties. Right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop there and go into the next part of the show, which is Player Up. So we've got some injury news and we've got some loan news. So let's start off with the loan news. Nikola Vlasic, they're playing tonight against. No, they're not. They're playing on Tuesday night against Juventus. But there's an injury hit Torino team. A couple of players that are missing, and Vlasic is one of them. He's got a thigh injury. He missed the 2-2 home draw against Cremonese the other day, and looks like he'll be missing the away leg to Juventus as the away tie to Juventus on Tuesday night. It's not known how long he's going to be out for, but Torino trying to chase the pack in securing a European place where it's been a key, where he's been a key player for them, scoring 4 goals and 4 assists so far this season in all competitions. He's a miss for them. Is he a miss for us? Could he fit into our team next season with the way we've been set up now? I don't know. Next up, Arthur Masuaku. Well, you know about all the stories that have been knocking around about Arthur. They don't want him, etc., etc. They were going to get rid of him, the Turkish club, by the end of the Turkish transfer window. None of that materialized. He's still there. And the only reason why he's not played, the Turkish league has returned after a suspension because of the earthquake there. After a postponement, sorry. And at the weekend, Besiktas played Antalyaspor in a 0-0 draw, but he wasn't available because he was serving a 1-game ban. But he should be in contention for the game that hosted by Besiktas against Ankara Gucu on Sunday. So, and at the end of the season, people are talking about maybe having him back. No, we need a left back. But with the greatest of respect, we don't need Arthur back. Connor commentary, as someone has already mentioned. The last time I spoke about Coventry, it was due to face Rotherham were due to face Sunderland last week, and an unfancied Rotherham beat Sunderland 2-1 in a much-needed win to keep them a little bit away from the relegation zone. And Coventry has proven to be, yet again, a pivotal central midfielder for them. That's the 5th game in a row he played, and tonight's game that he's playing is the 6th. So he's doing extremely well. And if someone can tell me how they're doing, I'd be grateful. But he's doing all right for Rotherham in the Championship. It's something that he really needed. He needed game time. He's getting game time. And not only that, you know, as soon as he joined them, he was straight into the team, and he's not been dropped. He's played all the games so far. So well done to him. I'm really, really pleased for him. Now, I talked about goalkeepers a little bit earlier on. You know, and maybe there might be one or two players coming from the under-21s, maybe into the senior team next season. And Nathan Trott might be one of them. Joseph Anang, our other keeper who was out on loan, is one. Nathan Trott could be another. He's on a season-long loan at Vejle Bold Club in Danish League, Danish League 1. After a 100-day extended winter break, they're back in playing again. So Nathan Trott, he was number 1 for them before the break, and he still continues to be number 1. He played a full 90 minutes in their 4-1 home win over Fremad Amager. And I know Vinay is going to tell me off for mispronouncing that, which was on the 18th of February. He again played his part in the away game against HB Kobe, keeping a clean sheet, where that point gained in this tough away fixture could prove quite vital later on in the season. He's having a good season. All right, it's only the 1st division of the Danish league, but so what? You know, he's getting game time, and that's what we need when we send players out on loan. The one thing we want them to do is to get game time. He's set to keep his place in a challenging Danish Cup game against Superliga opponents FC Copenhagen this Friday. He's one of several goalies out on loan this season. And like I mentioned a moment ago, Joseph Anang was back out on loan, who's now become our 3rd choice keeper after selling Darren Randolph in the January transfer window. It's going to be interesting to see what happens at the end of the season. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, we're going to need players. We're going to need to have at least 5, 6, maybe even up to 7 players looking at replacements, and we might be looking at the under-21s. And I know people are saying, well, it's Moyes and he won't use them, etc. Who knows? I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with Nathan Trott, also what happens with Joseph Anang, to see, and also to see if Lucas Fabianski will stay, because he's got he's in his final season, but he's also got an extension clause for another season, Fabianski. So if Fabianski stays, then one of those 2 players, Trott or Anang, could become a permanent 3rd choice keeper. If Fabianski goes, then either we're going to have to buy another goalie alongside Areola, or we might promote Trott and Anang both as number 2 and number 3 keepers at the senior team. It'd be interesting to find out. Another goalie out on loan is Jacob Knightbridge. He continues his loan spell at Harrow Borough FC, and he was on the bench for the under-21s tonight. I did question this. Is that all right to do? It must be. Otherwise, West Ham wouldn't do it. Knightbridge, who plays for Harrow Borough FC, played the full 90 minutes in the game against Chesham at the weekend, which ended 2-2. Bit of an up and down season for him. He didn't do so well in the last game against Swindon Supermarine, where Harrow Borough lost 3-1, and he didn't get off to the best starts in the game against Chesham, where he miscontrolled a back pass which almost led to a goal. Got away with it. He redeemed himself with some fine saves throughout the game, but it did end 2-2. Harrow Borough are now 1 place and 1 point above the relegation zone. I can't remember what league it is, to some southern league, and do have the advantage of 2 games in hand to get even further away from the relegation area. And we have another keeper out on loan. 22-year-old Brian Kinnear is on loan for the rest of the season for Falkirk, and he played his first game for them away to Airdrie at the weekend. Kinnear was called upon in several times throughout the game to keep Falkirk in contention. Despite going a goal down within first 10 minutes, he did pull off a number of saves before that and a number of saves after that as well. Just before half-time, Falkirk drew 1-1. However, no more than a minute later, Falkirk conceded a penalty, which was superbly saved by Brian Kinnear. Early in the second half, Kinnear was in action again to keep the game level. 6 minutes later, they went 2-1 up. Falkirk made the game safe on 72 minutes with the 3-1 win. The win maintained Falkirk's standing in the league at second place in the Scottish League One, behind league leaders Dunfermline. And well done to Kinnear, his debut for the club, making a number of vital saves as well as saving a penalty. Well done to him. Other players on loan but not doing so well. Thierry Nevers at Bradford City. His loan spell is unfortunately not going as well as hoped. In the first half of the season, Nevers was on loan at Newport County, but his loan spell was cut short in January in the hope that he might get more game time at Bradford. Unfortunately, that's not so. Since moving there, he's only had 30 minutes spread out over 5 games. It's a bit of a shame for him. It's not happening for him. And another player it's not happening for is Mipo Odebeko. Do you remember him when we talk about FA Cups, when he played in the FA Cup against Man United? In the early part of the season, Odebeko was getting some good game time and he scored 4 goals for Port Vale. Now he's been dropped for the last 4 games, and another player that's just not having a good time away from home, on loan. Right, how about some injury news? Well, we all saw what happened to Fabianski against Nottingham Forest. His eye swelled up like a balloon, and the club are worried about his eye socket, and they're not sure they're going to... I think he would have had scans today, and we're waiting for results of that to see how severe it might be. He was down for quite a while, getting treatment for up to 5 or 6 minutes. He's worried about the eye socket, David Moyes, thinking that if that's damaged, he could be out for quite a considerable amount of time. Look, we all know that Areola was going to be picked for the FA Cup anyway, but it looks like Areola, as people have been asking for, might get an extended run now. The French international is likely to play against Brighton at the weekend. And then, of course, he would have been picked for the Europa Conference League game against AEK. He might end up, those 3 games against Man United, against Brighton, and against Larnaca could give us an indication whether Areola should stay as the number 1 for the club. I've always said that I think he should. I think Fabianski's been great, but the one big difference between the two, as I said many times before, is his distribution. I think Areola's distribution is more accurate. It's much, much better. Yes, I get it. People have said that he doesn't save a lot of penalties, but in all honesty, I think his distribution, it actually puts us on the front foot a lot quicker. He gets the ball. He doesn't hesitate. Fabianski is very much, I've got the ball, calm down. Let's see what's happening. By that time, the opposition's back in formation. Areola's more likely to sort of get that ball away pretty quickly. So next 3 games for Areola are going to be quite interesting to see how he fares. Another player. By the way, for Fabianski, like I said, the scans will tell us how long he might be out for. There's hope that it won't be too bad, but it's quite possible he could be out for maybe, I don't know, a few weeks, quite possibly. Next up, Vladimir Soufal. He was subbed at halftime, and we were all wondering why. And then after the game, we found out because he had a heel injury, should be HEAL. I do apologise. Soufal has apparently had a problem with his heel for some time, and apparently he's been taking painkillers for it and playing through the pain barrier. It's a shame if he misses a few games now. He's been in decent form of late, and the injury is not thought to be that bad, but he certainly won't be playing against Man United on Wednesday, and it's possible that he might not play against Brighton at the weekend. Again, it's looking like he'll probably have a scan if he's not already done it on Monday to sort of determine how serious that injury is. But we've been told that it's not too serious, so hopefully we might see him back. If not for the Brighton game, then certainly would he play for the AEK Larnaca game? Might give him a bit of a respite and then maybe back for the Villa game the following week. Maxwell Cornet. Now, it's interesting because... David Moyes has talked about how Maxwell Cornet has come back and done really, really well in training and looks really fit, really sharp, really quick, etc. And he said, I'm considering giving the players some game time in the under-21 game against Brighton, which was on tonight. And obviously, he didn't play, which seems to imply that it's very, very likely that we'll see Cornet back in action against Man United on Wednesday. Would he start? I'm not so sure. But certainly, he could come off the bench, which would be really, really good. But rest assured, he's finally back. And the last player on our injury list is Kurt Zouma. He's been back in training. And I did suggest, when he went out injured, I said it probably won't be till March until we see him back in action. And lo and behold, we believe He's been training, and we believe he'll be ready. Again, not another player I think will be risked against Man United, but I think he'll be out back in the lineup against Brighton at the weekend, and I think that'll be a very welcome boost. Boy, oh boy, do we need him to stay fit for the rest of the season? Him and a Gerd. I'm waiting to see how good they can be on a consistent basis. So let's go on to the Man United game, because a lot of you have mentioned it already, and some of you have talked about what team that you'd like to see lining up, or what you think it should be. Congratulations to them, by the way, for having won the League Cup. They're doing exceptionally well in the league. You know, they're third in the league. They're beginning to look like the old Man United, aren't they? They beat Barcelona as well to get through to the last 16 of the Europa League, you know, and before the League Cup win over Newcastle at the weekend, they hadn't won a trophy since 2017. So it's been a long time coming. That was my phone that just fell. So what does Moyes do? With our league position being so vulnerable, does Moyes throw everything at Man U by picking his best team, or does he put league safety first? And this is what you guys have been asking about in the chat. Well, when we think of the players who didn't start at the weekend, could the team against Man United look something like this? Now, I think Moyes has got choices. I'm not suggesting that this will be the lineup, because I think probably Declan might play. I think Bowen might play. There might be one or two others that might play. But some of these players didn't play at the weekend. Scamacca and Antonio came on late. Lanzini got a late subs role at the weekend, and so did Fornals. Downs didn't play at all, and Emerson didn't play. Kehrer didn't play. And then the back line, you've got Ogbonna, Creswell. He didn't have a good game as a left back, but maybe better as a left-sided central defender. And then Gerd will be the only player that started that game. Now, it could be that, but I'm not so sure. Like I said, they've got Fabianski and Soufal out injured, and we've got some backups. People have said about Mbama and maybe even Heggie, the under-21 keeper, who's doing excellent this season. But it could be a team like this, which wouldn't be a bad team, not necessarily. It'll probably revert to a back five again, unfortunately. But you would have maybe Scamacca and Antonio up front, you know, supporting each other. You've got good players in the middle there with Lanzini and Fornals being able to create something. Fornals, as we know, is a workhorse. He'll drop back when needed. Downs as well will defend that the back line. And then you've got Kehrer and you've got Emerson that will give you a bit of width and a bit of pace on either side. It could be that, but possibly not. I mean, who does he then? I mean, if you look on the sub side, who would he bring in? Bowen maybe, Declan maybe. As people have been saying, we're quite keen on not getting any more injuries. So would you risk Paqueta, Benrahma, Ings? Oh well, Ings is out anyway. Paqueta, Benrahma, Bowen, etc. Would you risk those players, Zuma back, etc.? Would you play them against Man United, risk some of them getting injured, and then being hampered for the Brighton game? I look at that team, and that's not bad. It's all right. You know, a Gerd I'd be worried about, but, you know, that's the thing that I mentioned earlier on. The one thing that we're kind of lacking at the moment is a bit more depth in defence, unless we go with one of the young defenders in the under-21s. So it could be something like that. The reason why I've got Ogbonna in there is because I think Zuma will replace Ogbonna for the game against Brighton on Saturday. Creswell, he's not been great. He looked really poor when he came on as a left back. He's got no pace left, but maybe, just maybe, in the back three, he might fare a little bit better, and he'll have a little bit more cover with Emerson on the left side. So that's the team I think is a possible, but I can't see Declan really being dropped. You know, I think the game will be too important to drop Declan Rice from. So maybe you'd look at maybe having him instead of Lanzini, Bowen maybe instead of, I don't know, Scamacca, or instead of Antonio. It could be something like that. But I wouldn't be too averse to seeing a team like that going out. There's a balance there, isn't there? You know, we're saving players for Saturday. The players like Bowen, players like Paqueta, players like Benrahma, players like Declan Rice, Ings, etc. You know, saving those players for Saturday and putting a team out that could possibly give Man United a bit of a run for their money at the weekend. Who knows? Right. Let's go into your chat, and then I'll get into the last part of the show. So do forgive me. I'm now half an hour, 20 minutes behind on your chat. Green, Clive, almost 100 people watching. Haven't tapped the like button. Please help. Thank you, Clive. Please do hit the subscribe and the like button and the bell notification. And yeah, that would be wonderful. Fred, Marshall, Skulls, a few others can go all the way if they keep their heads down and learn from their elders. They are decent. Skulls is decent. Marshall, my God. We think about Mbama being a goal machine. Marshall scores for fun as well. Fantastic little player. Eamon, I'm Moyes in. If he had a fit squad to choose from all season, we wouldn't be anywhere near the bottom three. I hear you. I agree. And I was advocating that earlier in the season. I think we've been extremely unlucky with a number of players that have been out. You know, and Moyes has had to make do. The irony is, although we've suffered not scoring goals, despite all the injuries we've had to our defenders, we've done all right. We've actually done not too bad in our defence, but it's the scoring, isn't it? And finally, we got a goal scorer on the pitch, and we started scoring at the weekend. Jonathan, I heard some people say put Scamacca in the number 10 role that Souček was doing, keep Ings up front with his long range passing and play making would be deadly. I'd buy that, definitely. Andy, any news on Cornet? Hopefully. I hope I've given you the update on that. He'll be back. He'll play some part, I think, in the game against Man United. I don't know if he'll start, but certainly, well, he might do, but certainly come off the bench at the very, very least. Eve Davis, Scamacca and Ings would work very well. Scamacca behind Ings, they can both pass and have great positioning. I do agree. Darren, how are you, mate? Moyes ain't going anywhere. He'll be our manager next season. Let's see what happens at the end of the season. You know, he's got that, he's got that belligerence about him. He'll probably want to stay until the end of his contract, but it kind of wouldn't surprise me if he left, if we won a trophy. John, 4 goals away from home. Oh, 4, not 3. I do apologise. Let's scroll down a little bit to try and catch up. Let's go down to Matthew. Milinkovic, the player. Milinkovic, that's who it is. Good player. What would you do? I mean, if we sell Declan, we're going to want a decent player to replace Declan. Milinkovic, he's a decent player. Martin, I think Gallagher is very good enough to start in most teams, but is he as good as Declan Rice? Sharky, Ward-Prowse would be a good player. I do agree. Ward-Prowse would be a good player for us. Apparently, we were in for him in the summer. He didn't want to leave Southampton. If Southampton get relegated, it'd be interesting to see what Ward-Prowse might do then. Matt, still not saying Gallagher is on par with Rice, but think he would suit us. I do rate the player. I agree. I do rate him as well. I think he's a pretty decent player. E. Davis, Areola is crazy athlete, about 3 times faster, 3 times the something of Fabianski, not even close. I like Areola, to be quite honest with you. Matt, Ward-Prowse, not for me, only good at free kicks, and he's Mr. Southampton. I think he's a little bit, I don't know, he'd be decent, and Moyes is interested in him. Good evening to you, Ed. Thank you for joining, mate. I hope you're well. Sai, AEK Larnaca got beat 2-1 tonight against 10 men. Let's not count our, they'll be up for it against us. So, well, fair. Was that a friendly game? I thought their league, maybe their league started tonight. Gary, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Matt, would you replace Cresswell with Luke Thomas from? Yeah, we've been linked to him. Well, there have been rumours about him before. Decent young player, good potential. Yeah, I agree. Would Leicester want to let him go? Probably not, I would say. Gary, again, 149 watching. Thank you. Much appreciated. It finished 1-1 against Swansea and Rotherham. How did commentary do? I hope he played well. Let's scroll down. NWO from Daniela. Nope. Yes, if you accept that what you need to do, some team rota more than others. What did NWO ask? We proved you can't compete in 4 competitions with a small squad, 2 seasons running. We don't have a small squad, though. We've got a massive squad of injuries, but this season we can't say we got decent squad size this season. We've got enough players to spread around. And like I showed you there, I think we've got enough players. If we were looking at our defence, if we were looking at our midfield, and attack, we've got players there. Most of those players didn't start on Saturday. It's the defence that I'm slightly concerned about. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got? Brian, good evening to you. Greetings from New Hampshire. Hope to see Skamaka and Cornet starting the cup game. I think we will see Skamaka. Like I said a moment ago, maybe Cornet. Who knows? But I think he'll get some game time, which I think would be the right thing. Come on, Cornet. Come on, Cornet. Andy, she was participating on the live show for player ratings. Who? I don't know, but hope she had a good time. Let's scroll down. John, throw the kitchen sink at manure. Play that lineup versus Brighton. Oh, would you play this lineup against Brighton? That's interesting. Do you think we'll get a result against Brighton with that lineup? I'd like to think so. Good shout, John. Good shout. Martin. Erin Teghard has really transformed Man U since getting the job. He absolutely has. Man United, they're going to be they're going to be going for it, aren't they, next season? This one's just the warm-up. Next season, he's got them ticking. Trudge, very pacey team. That would have pace in it, wouldn't it? I think it'll be a decent team. John, Epic, Creswell needs to be sold. Being a good player, but he's well past it. We won't be selling him. We'll be just letting him go. Rude Geek, good evening to you. Yes, he is cup tied. I'm pretty sure people have said he is cup tied. I'm pretty certain. Hammer Time, good evening to you. We're not getting anything out of this one, out of the Man United game. Probably not. But like I said earlier on, if it is one of those games where we're not expecting anything, just go for it. Because if we lose 1-0, if we lose 3-0, does it really matter? Have a go. I'm going up there. I'm going up with some mates. Can't get back, so we're staying over. So give us something to shout about. Give us something to cheer. Because it's not pleasant staying up in Manchester. Fred, Manure, very organised now. Good defence. Best time to play them after a cup final? Probably. Let's see what happens. Daniela. Man U, Stan, don't think Rashford will play on Wednesday. They have Liverpool on Sunday. Well, this is it. They've got Liverpool coming up. Then they've got the Europa League, etc. So they've got some important games. But even if they don't play Rashford, who are they going to put on instead? Someone else that'll get, 2 goals or something. David E. Davis, still wasn't used as Skamaka, who's injured and left at the hour against Forest. Didn't play, mate. So as far as I'm aware, there's been no stories about him at all. He was there at the end. So I'm expecting him to start against Man United on Wednesday. Gary, don't shoot me, but I'd be okay if we got knocked out of the FA Cup. We need to concentrate on the league. Gary, a lot of people have been saying the same thing. I totally agree. But just go. Have a go. It doesn't matter. Just have a go. Whatever we get, we get. If we don't, we don't. Trudge. We did well in last season in the Cups with our B team, I guess. Well, what is a B team? Because I look at some of those players there. Last season, Fornals. This season, Skamaka. Last season, Antonio. Emerson's been doing pretty well. Kera, I know, has been a bit on and off. Agerd doing well. Ogbonna, playing excellently. I know Creswell's a little bit past it. But that's not a bad team. I guess it's a B team-ish, isn't it? But it's still not a bad team, is it, really? Excuse me. Hammer Time, Cornet back from pre-season training. He's back. Good evening to you, Lee. I hope you're well. Thank you very much, mate. I really appreciate that. Ed, to Gary, if we win against Man United, I'd like to see us go the way. Absolutely. But you know what people have said? We go away to Man United. We beat them away from home. Who do we get in the next game? Man City away. Of course we would. Of course we would. It bloody will. It will bloody well happen. Anthony, Cypriot team's worst rank left in the Europa Conference and over 2 legs. I will try to win Man United and Brighton with a nearly full-strength squad. Only Man United, Man City and Spuds to beat in the FA Cup. That's a good shout. But like I said, we'll end up getting Man City. We go and beat Man United. We go and spank them 1-0. 1-0. And then we'll be drawn against City, won't we? Away. Because nothing's easy for West Ham United. Good evening to you, Upton Park. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. Much appreciated. Jonathan, we don't need a Rice replacement at the same level. We just need a midfield for Weir, slowing Paqueta to get Paqueta to dominate. I'd just really like to see how it would develop with Rice and Paqueta for another season. I really would. Honestly, I'm not kidding. It would be such a formidable midfield after they've done their one season bedding in together. But, we know Declan's going, don't we? Unfortunately. Trudge, Johnson needs to play in that defence. The reason why I've not put Johnson in there is because I think Johnson will play at the weekend. I think Johnson, much maligned, I think he did really well at the weekend. I'm going to get onto the game a little bit. I know I talked about it in a show I did last night, but I'm going to just go back to the game as the final part of the show in a moment. Andy, I hope we don't go back 5 against Brighton. I don't think we will. I think we will go with a back 4. Hence, I think why Johnson will play. But actually, he will start on the right. Maybe Kehrer on the right, which I don't mind. Restricts our scoring. 4-3-3-1. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 4-3-3-1. That'd be cheating. I think you meant 4-3-2-1 or 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 for me. You know, what was the formation that you saw at the weekend? Because for me, that looked like a 4-3-2-1. You know, quite fluid, but it looked like a 4-3-2-1 and it worked very well. Amen. I remember at a time we wasn't expecting anything against United in the Cup, Man United in the Cup, and then we tonked them 4-0. Can lightning strike twice? No, it can't. Not at 4-0. Daniela, I heard that the Glazers are saying that they want to say which causes they want to stay, which causes. I know they're not for sale now, are they? All of a sudden, Ten Hag is doing well, getting them up the league, winning a trophy. All of a sudden, they don't want to go anywhere. Of course, they don't want to go anywhere. Yes, the smell of the Champions League money. That's why they don't want to go anywhere. James, what would you do with Oggie's contract next season? I know I've heard the stories about he'd love to stay. It's a tough one because I think Ogbonna has been one of our finest defenders over the last, 5, 6 years. I think he's been superb for us. It might be a year, it might be a season too many for him, to be quite honest with you, as it might be for quite a number of our players. You know, I include Fabianski in that. I include Creswell in that. Oggy himself, maybe Lanzini, maybe. You know, there are a few players that are kind of like, you love them, but you don't want to keep them for sentimental reasons. And as much as I think Ogbonna has been super, I mean, coming back from the injury that he's come back from, and in order to play, I bet even he didn't think he'll be playing as many games as he has done this season. I think he would have thought he would have been a bit part player and that would have been it, and he would have accepted that. It's a tough one because you love the man, you love the player, you love his passion, but then you've got to do what's right for the team. And unfortunately, I think I'd let him go, to be honest with you. It'd be sad, but there you go. John, still, when you're going to talk about Decker's secret plan coming up, I have to keep you waiting so you can watch the whole show. Cockney, Moyes will revert to his usual ways on Wednesday. He won't be able to help himself. He might well do. He might well go with a back 5, but maybe a little bit more fluid back 5. But he might do. And this is the dilemma, as I said. What do you do with this cup game when you know you've got another game that you need to get a result from at the weekend to keep pushing you up the table? So, like I said, he might sort of revert. He might well revert to a back 5 against Man United. I wouldn't mind. But look what we got up front. If he does this, he's got Scamacca and Antonio up front with creative players just behind him, Downs to support as well. I don't know. He might well do. Mandy, hi Stel, when is Moyes going to find a system that he is confident with? Well, he found it on Saturday. Will he stay with it? And this is the question everyone's asking. Who knows? You know, Moyes, I think, thinks like an American football coach. You know, I'll put this team out for this play. I'll put this team out for that play. Just keep with the team that wins. And the team that won on Saturday was superb. Will he do it against Man U? I almost don't care. I still want us to do well against Man U. I don't want us to cave in, but I want to see him do what he did on Saturday against Brighton, to be honest. Clive, could Paqueta be the deciding factor for Declan to stay, perhaps? He wanted the club to show ambition. Surely Paqueta is a good sign of intent. I absolutely agree with you. It would be a very good sign of intent, without a doubt. Epic. Antonio, Lanzini, Fabianski, Creswell and Ogbonna are simply too old and too slow to play in the Premier League. This is the problem, and this is the unfortunate truth. Antonio, I think, will leave anyway. He made enough noises in the January transfer window that apparently bids were in. Let him go. Thank you, but let him go. Lanzini, yeah, I think maybe with his injuries, I think the Premier League is too fast for him. I agree with you. Fabianski, great servant. Creswell and Ogbonna, great servants. But I totally agree, Epic. I do think, you know, and there's 5 players there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 players there that would have to replace. If Declan goes as well, that's 6. And that's why I said earlier in the show, maybe there'll be 1 or 2 under 21 players to cushion that blow. You know, let Antonio go. put Mbama in that senior team. Why not? You know, he'll be the third choice striker behind Ings and behind Skamaka. Fine for an 18-year-old. That would be perfect for him. Fabianski, much the same. If you let him go, you've got Areola as the number one. And then you might have to make a decision. Do I buy another goalie, or do I give Nathan Trott and Joseph Anang, two fine young goalkeepers, to be second and third choice? Why not? You know, and then the others, Creswell, we need a left back. We've needed a left back for the last, 2.5 years or so? Surprised we haven't bought one. Ogbonna going. We've got Luzal, let's not forget, who played in the under-21s tonight, you know, brought in from Brazil, etc., getting a bit of game time, getting a lot of game time in the under-21s. Maybe he's the one that will come in for Ogbonna. Why not have a few youngsters that are going to be backups and willingly be backups, knowing that they might get a bit of game time in cup competitions, etc., to get a bit of confidence in. And then that'll cushion the blow, wouldn't it? You know, you go from maybe 5 or 6 players having to be bought to maybe only 3 or 4. Declan, he won't sign another contract. He won't. But we might want to keep him on the contract that he's on. Daniela, Ogbonna has said he wants to retire at West Ham. Should just give him a one-year rolling contract. This is the thing, though. Do you do it for sentiment, or do you do it because you think he's going to be capable of giving us another year on the pitch? And I love him, but I'm not so sure he would give you another year on the pitch. Mandy, would you keep Declan until he runs his contract out, or rather sell? I said I'm in two minds over this. I wouldn't mind either way, to be quite honest with you. Build around him. Paqueta, Agurd, world-class players. Build around him with Declan as well. Get a few more in the summer transfer window. What could happen then? You know? Or sell him and then use that money to bolster the squad. It's a difficult one. Half of me wants him to stay. The other half of me says, do we want to carry on with a charade another season? Every single day of the week, he's going here, he's signing there, he's going there, he's going to go and play for this team, Arsenal, blah, blah, blah. It gets boring, doesn't it? Eamon, I've got a feeling we will get offered some of Chelsea's deadwood plus cash for Rice come the end of the season. Yeah, but he says he wants to go to a team and win things. He ain't winning much at Chelsea, is he? Alese back from Birmingham? No, he's not. He's been sold permanently. He's now a permanent player at Birmingham. Coventry, straight into the first team. Coventry is an interesting proposition. I think he's doing extremely well. And he won't be a replacement for Declan, but certainly a good squad player without a doubt. Peter, we went to shit last season when Oggy got injured. Absolutely agree with that. And there's no coincidence. We play a lot better now he's back. I totally agree. You want him for one more year. Let's go into the final part of the show, which is another sort of review of the game. Now, have I got the right video? So, just a recap on the game, because I did do a review on it. And if you haven't watched it, please go and have a look at it on my channel, of the review of the game. And I also had Graham on as well, who was a great guest. And I talked about the 5 things that we learned from that game as well. I talked about Areola, about the speed of his service from the goalie position. I talked about Ben Johnson. I think he's very underrated, and he did really, really well as a left back. I talked about Paqueta and a few other things. So let's finish off with another brief review, shall we? Now, if you'd like to, I said earlier, if anyone likes to be a guest on my show in the future to do another review, this one will be of the Brighton game. I'll do it on Sunday. It'll be a short review of that game. Message me on westhamvoice@gmail.com and we'll get it set up for you. So after the Spurs game, Declan Rice said, "Oh, John, are you listening? I'm going to talk about Declan." After the Spurs game, Declan Rice apparently had a private meeting. Well, not apparently, he had a private meeting with the players, and they had a meeting straight after Spurs and another meeting in midweek to talk about what's going wrong and how to put things straight. And I don't know what was said about in that meeting, but it's evident that they would have talked about their efforts as a combined unit, because you look at the camaraderie when we scored that the relief and the camaraderie when we scored that first goal against Forest on Saturday. Everyone got together. They were all like, you could see they were together. Now, there's been an awful lot of talk about, players not playing for David Moyes. He's lost the dressing room, etc. Didn't look like that on Saturday. Now, I know a win makes everything look rosy. And don't get me wrong, we're, like I said earlier on, we're not out of the deep mud yet. But there's signs there, and what happens from here on in is just as much down to Moyes as it is down to the players. And they showed great commitment at the weekend. They kept at it. I thought we played a decent game in the first half. Things weren't coming off for us, but we kept at it. We held our heads up. The couple of poor chances that Nottingham Forest had, we kind of snuffed out. I think they had one or two shots on goal. That was it. I think Areola saved one late on. I think Fabianski, he picked one and went straight to him, to his chest in the first half. So I think the players are together. I think that Declan Rice has been much maligned this season for his leadership. And even I've suggested, is it the right thing to do, knowing that he's going to leave, or we think he's going to leave at the end of the season? Should he have been given the captaincy? Should he have been, allowed to sort of captain West Ham United? And I think finally he showed some leadership spirit by actually getting the players together and having those private talks. And I think it did wonders. It certainly psyched up the team. And I think that was great. Now, it's quite possible that Mark Noble maybe went to him, listen, mate, this is what you've got to do. That's fine. Mark Noble's there. He's there to give advice. And why not? But whether he was given advice to do it or whether Declan Rice did it of his own accord, it doesn't matter. He did it. And that's the important thing. And you could see how the players came out for the game. All right, we did play a poor Nottingham Forest. There's no denying that. But like I said earlier on, you can only play the team that's in front of you and do the best that you can do. And we did really well. We were on the up from the minute the game started. I know the tactics helped. I know the formation helped as well. I know having Danny Ings on helped as well. But nonetheless, I think it was good to see Declan Rice taking the initiative. Now, what was said? Ings would have. I think Ings was ready to start anyway. Would Declan Rice and the rest of the players turn around to David Moyes and say, you got to start Ings? I think probably not. I doubt it very much. I'd be very, very surprised if Declan Rice was making demands on who should and who shouldn't play. However, what I do think, and apparently Moyes said he didn't know that the players had met. I don't know. But I do think that the players probably did discuss tactics. The players probably did discuss, what do we believe is right going forward? And maybe there were conversations out of the private chats that Rice had with the rest of the players. Maybe there were conversations with Moyes saying, boss, we need, something different up front. We need to just be let off the leash. Declan Rice talked about it in a post-match interview against Spurs, didn't he? And I think Antonio's spoken about it, and a few other players have mentioned about. I think Ben Rama said it earlier in the season about sort of being let loose a little bit, being unleashed, to go and do the things they needed to do. And quite possibly, the players may have spoken about that, and that may have been relayed to David Moyes. We don't know. We don't know what those private conversations contained. Certainly, I would expect definitely not for Declan Rice to be going, or for the team to be going and saying you should be starting this player, you should be starting that player. Because if they got together as a team, Antonio would have been in there, Scamacca would have been in there, Ings would have been in there. So they're not likely to have given demands to David Moyes about who he should and shouldn't play. Suggestions and discussions about formation and about tactics, maybe so. And if I like to think that if that was the case, Moyes took it on board, but I just wonder whether Moyes was looking at it, and I'm not making excuses for Moyes, but I just wonder whether Moyes was looking at the previous 3 games, get through Chelsea, get through Newcastle, get through Spurs, and then unleash the team a little bit. We've got Nottingham Forest. He may have done what he did anyway, whether Declan Rice and the rest of the team had discussions with him or not. Look, whatever happened, it worked. I admire Declan Rice for finally showing initiative as a leader, as a captain, for getting the team together to discuss what's going wrong, to be honest to each other and say, have we been playing as well as we should have been? Have we let the gaffer down? Have we let the fans down? What is it we should be doing? Are we not putting enough effort in? And I think we saw against Spurs. I mean, I was at that game. The first half was all right. We held our own. No great shakes. It was a really boring game. The second half, it looked like one or two players had put tools down and sort of gave up. I'm not going to name them. You know who they were. But for us in the stands, it was like, what on earth are some of these players doing? They seem to have given up running. They seem to have given up the hope. And that was before we went 1-0 down. And but we saw a different team on Saturday. We saw a vibrant team. We saw a team that we know is in there. We saw a team that we know, with the players that we've got, can actually take a game to the opposition and give them a run for their money. Which is why I think a lot of fans, including myself, are hoping that David Moyes is going to do the same thing against Brighton on Saturday, that he puts a team out there that's going to be on the front foot. Because I won't deny, if Moyes does go back to type and goes with a back five and stifles our attacking prowess, and doesn't give a lot of support to the front man, whether that be Ings or anyone else, then it will be a disaster. So I don't think Moyes will do that. I think they would have probably had further discussions after the game on Saturday and patted each other on the back and spoke to Moyes, etc. And knowing that they put in a good performance, they put in a really good display. Everyone played their part. I was looking at that side on Saturday, and the only player that looked really shaky was when Cresswell came on at halftime at left back, and he looked like he looked almost afraid. He almost looked frozen for the first 10, 15 minutes of the game. And I think there was one point where Forest had a break. I think it was Brennan Johnson. He was free on the right-hand side, and Cresswell was way up. And Declan was sort of shouting to him as if like, what are you doing up there? You should be back here. But him aside, you look at those players, you look at every player on that pitch, and we did well. Ogbonna, rolling back the years. Agerd, we know how superb he is. I think Ben Johnson, like I said earlier, I think he's. I think people underestimate him. Not only did he have to start the game as left back and did well, and then he went over to right back and also did well as again. Souček, sorry, who's been getting a lot of criticism, and maybe rightly so, seems to be back again, at his not best, but he's looks more confident. Paqueta, as we know, Rice, as we know, do their business. And then the front three, Ben Rama had a superb game on Saturday, and so did Bowen, actually. Very different types of players, but maybe the reason why they both did so well is because they had this player up front. He made a massive difference to the way we played at the weekend. And maybe, and this is not criticizing Antonio, but when you've got players like Ben Rama and Bowen trying to create chances, the one thing you need is a player in the box to go on the end of them. And Antonio is not that way inclined. He's not that sort of player. Danny Ings was there for them. Ings started one of the goals, didn't he? When he got the ball out to Bowen, Bowen got it in, and Ings latched onto the end of it. And then the run from Ben Rama to get to the byline for the second goal was like a throwback. It was like, my God, mate. He was right in front of us because I'm in the Bobby Moore lower. And you saw him coming. You were going, oh, mate. In the way he wriggled past with pace, past the defenders, got it to the byline and then swung it across was absolutely superb. And that it made a difference because we've got a natural goal scorer in the team. And Ings just changed the whole complexion of the way we played. It was superb. And I don't think Moyes is going to now let that go, to be quite honest with you. Like I said, something different might happen when it comes to the cup games against Man United and Larnaca. But when it comes to the Premier League, why would Moyes want to change that? I'd be very, very, very surprised if he did. It was superb. And I asked earlier in the show, question marks about David Moyes. Now that he was as relieved as anyone, wasn't he? Does he get a reprieve? No, he doesn't. Because come Saturday at 3:00, we're going to be expecting to go out there and put in a performance. If he puts in a performance against a bogey team and we walk away with a point or even 3, we're going to go, great. Next, Aston Villa. Then we've got to do it against them at home as well. So, no, he hasn't got a reprieve. He's got to carry on. He's got to continue doing what he's doing. He's got to be putting out a team that's going to go out there and try and win a game. And that's what he did at the weekend. By hook or by crook, whether it was through Declan's conversations with the rest of the team or not, I couldn't tell you. But it's good to see leadership from Declan Rice to having got the team together to discuss what's going wrong, and as a unit to put it right. Right. What about this player? I'm beginning to love him. He uses class. The way he's got that arrogance. The flicks and the moves and the passing. And someone said in the review when I did on Sunday, he can see a pass, 3 passes ahead, if you know what I mean, before anybody else. What we got to do is get players around him who get that, who know that Paqueta's going to get it and he's going to put it there, or he's going to put it here and run onto it. Classy, absolute class. People were saying earlier in the season, what a waste of money, £50 million down the drain. A good player will maybe need time to. I mean, he said it in an interview, didn't he? The team has taken time to bed in that now we know each other better, etc. We're going to play better and better, and there's more to come. I do believe there's more to come, and that excites me. Does that exonerate Moyes? No. We've had a really, really shit 23 games before getting to this stage, and you can't deny it. And also, the end of last season wasn't great as well. But if Moyes can maintain what he did on Saturday with a lineup, with formation, with the tactics, etc., then I think we will go on and be safe in the Premier League. We are better than a lot of teams down there. There are teams that are going to continue struggling, even up to what? I think maybe Villa are okay, but whoever's in sort of the 13th position down, there are 7 or 8 teams still in the relegation battle. And when I look at their squads over our squad is superior to an awful lot of them. So we should have enough in the locker. But as you all say, Moyes has got to maintain this. Right. Let's go into the final part of the show with your chat. Look forward to Rice going. He ain't no captain for me. After I've just bigged him up. He lost my respect as soon as he started to prostitute himself. No, but this is the thing, Eamon. He hasn't. And I know what was said during the World Cup about, he said, I want to be playing, Champions League football, whatever it was he said. But if you watch that video, I was angry at that. But then what I was more angry about, and I know you and I have had a conversation about this in previous shows, I was more angry about a reporter asking a question about his domestic situation rather than focusing on the World Cup at the time when he was on England duty. He hasn't prostituted himself to any other club. He's never come out and said, I want to go to Arsenal. I want to go to Chelsea. Even as a Chelsea fan, he hasn't said, I want to go to these clubs. Not once has he said that. You've got to give him credit where credit's due. He's never come out and said, I want to go at the end of the season. It's everybody else saying he will be going to Arsenal, etc. I didn't like what he said. I think it was a bit naive of him. What in the interview that he did at the World Cup, it was a little bit too naive. Yeah, he should have just turned around and said, "I'm focusing on England and I'm not going to discuss domestic." He should have done that. And for him answering it, people perceive that as I'm desperate to leave. He's never said I'm desperate to leave, And I get the whole thing because I've criticised his captaincy until now. I think he's shown good leadership to having pulled the players together, but he's never said, I want to go elsewhere. So we can't put that on him. We know he wants to play Champions League football. We know he wants to go and win things. But like I said, maybe a small maybe, if we do well, if we win the Europa Conference and go back into Europe next season with the likes of Paqueta, with the likes of Agerd, etc., he might just think, maybe I'll stay one more season. It's a long shot, but you never know. Mandy, Phillips has gone backwards at City, not getting game time. We knew that was going to happen, didn't we? This is the one big problem when a player goes to a big club, that's got a big squad that you already know have got players who are not superior, but are not likely to get dropped for you coming in. And Phillips has done just that. He would have been better off staying at Leeds because what's he going to get now? He may not win, may not win anything. Well, he may do, but is he going to enjoy winning a championship medal for having played only a bit part throughout the season? I'm not so sure. I think some players, it's happened throughout, footballing history, isn't it? Players have gone to other teams and then sort of never to be seen again. Andy, Benny back to his best. Formation suits him more than a back five. Absolutely. Without a doubt. He shone on Saturday. He was superb. The way he's got so much skill, that player. I know he does a lot of step overs and they're a bit boring because sometimes in the crowd we're going, for fuck's sake, Benny, pass the ball, will you, mate? You know, forget the step overs. But when he gets the ball and he runs, when he created that goal for Rings, that's what he's all about. E. Davis, hate to say it, but sell Declan and reinvest. Otherwise, we are in shit when he leaves. Well, yeah, that's what we'll do. If we do sell him, we will reinvest that money without a doubt. Well, what we should do. Daniela, it depends on if Rice wants to stay in London, so he might wait and see what they do. Yeah, Chelsea are not going to get anywhere near the Champions League this season, are they? They're not going to get into Europe this season by the looks of things. Will Declan want to stay? He kind of has always alluded to wanting to stay down south. Arsenal, I bet he don't go to Arsenal. I know a lot of people think he will. It's a given. I bet he doesn't. I bet he doesn't go to Arsenal. Howard, I'll be eating my words, won't I, at the end of the season. Howard, Deck should give us another 2 years. Offer him 200,000. Well, we have, and he's refused it. Build around him. See if he wants to become a true legend. Still plenty of time to go to Real Madrid. Gary, how much do you want to bet that Nobles put Declan up for having those meetings? Probably, and fine. And if the fact that Declan took his advice and did it, great. That's good. It shows that he's learning. Learn, young man, learn. Lee, get behind our squad and the players will play. All the negatives is why Captain Rice put a ban on social media for the players. Thanks, Del. Great. Thank you for watching, Lee. Really appreciated. Yeah, putting a ban on social media. We think that players social media doesn't get to them. They're all on social media. They know what people are saying. They know people are calling Moyes out. They know people are calling the team out, individuals in the team, etc. And that negativity, you keep doing that over and over and over again, it does get to you. It doesn't matter whether you're a footballer or not. It gets to all of us. If we're on social media and we get a lot of negativity, whether we like it or not, it gets to us. Yeah, there's some of us that are really pig-headed and don't care, but there's a lot of people that do. You know, they it does affect them. Trudge, new haircut, 100% help. What a horrible haircut. Paul, Rice meeting worked and things are changing. Let's hope they stay changed. Eamon, the players called the meeting. I bet not Deck. They most probably wanted to ask him what he was up to, and they just made it sound like he called the meeting. So no, well, in fairness, I believe he did call the meeting. Trudge, the meeting was just to get feedback. See, it comes to the end of the show and we're in silly hour. Old school, great goal, Sharky. Very pleased for him. It was a good goal, but my favourite goal was the goal that Ben Rama created. That was my favourite of the 4 goals. Was just because we saw the way with Ben Rama with intent, the way he just like brushed that defender off. Just got past him, wriggled past him, and got the ball across. That was my favourite one. But it was a good goal from Declan. Eamon, it's only Rice that comes off social media, no one else. To me, that says players called a meeting with Rice to ask if he was their captain or Arsenal new player. Oh, interesting take. Oh, Fred, people saying hook Ings at halftime, give the man a chance, he will deliver. Yeah, I did get to a point around the 60th minute when I thought, oh, the Ings thing ain't worked. And then out of nothing, we scored a goal. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got? Mandy. With wing backs in a 5, we rely on Soufal too much as an attacking threat, which is unfair on him. Yeah, he tries. He's not a natural wing back, is he really? And I think if we do go to a back 5 and Soufal's out injured, you could probably see Kehrer getting that slot for the next game in the FA Cup. Andy, he needs to keep the handbrake off Moyes. That is, let this lot play. There's a lot of international players in our squad. Agreed. Howard, was Potter the bogey or Brighton? Was Potter the bogey or Brighton? Potter the bogey. Potter at Brighton, I think we said this earlier in the show, that the system there, it almost doesn't matter whether you've got Potter managing or Harry Potter managing that team. They have a system, don't they? And they've proven that with Potter going. And now he's gone to Chelsea. The poor man has been found out. But there you go. Let's scroll down. Anthony. Mount has refused all Chelsea new contracts and talks have broken down. Cheeky Mount bid to keep... Well, you know what? Why not? Why not? Get that would be great, wouldn't it? Get Mason Mount at West Ham. And as he's coming through the door, he's going, Where are you off to, Declan? Oh, I'm just going to talk about a new contract with another club. Fuck that, mate. Come back here. Let's smash it at West Ham. Wouldn't that be nice? Mandy, he's on 120 grand a week now, so any move would warrant higher wages. Well, any club, it's quite possible that if any club wants him, they're going to offer him 250 grand a week without a shadow of a doubt. The Man Cities of this world, maybe even Chelsea, etc., will offer him that. We've offered him 200. He's turned it down. But we've offered him 200 because we wanted him to sign a longer contract. What more? Well, he'll probably sign, he would sign an improved contract if we didn't ask him to stay for 8 years. That's probably the thing. Andy, good shout, Paul. 0-0 when Fab went off. 4-0 with Areola. His save made Fab doesn't. Yeah, I know people are saying that we won because Fabianski came off. Sorry, I think that's really unfair on Fabianski. But well, Vinay, all Moyes has to do is outsource tactics to Rice and his advisors. Sit back and take the credit. That's it. Well, what managers do. Tell them what. Well, outsource the tactics to Rice. No, I'm sure Moyes had some part in that win at the weekend, don't you, Vinay? Or we're going to give him absolutely no credit at all. Trodge, Ings is on 120 grand a week, isn't he? I think he is, yes. And I think he will earn every penny of that by the end of this season. Vinay, so do you think it's a Declan Rice-Sullivan coup against Moyes? So do you think it's a Rice-Sullivan coup against Moyes? What? In the chat they had? I don't think Sullivan had anything to do with any of it, to be quite honest with you. Declan Rice-Sullivan coup. What? Declan went to Sullivan and said, get your manager to change the team. That is a conspiracy theory too far. Anthony, still, the players just need to ignore anything negative from Moyes and play attacking football for themselves and the fans. I don't know. Maybe. Andy, never doubted Paqueta still. Form is temporary, class is permanent. Paqueta is a class act and worth the money we pay for him. I agree. Absolutely agree. Let's scroll down. Who have we got? Steve. Evening, Stel. Good evening to you, Steve. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Who else have we got? Let's scroll down. Paul. Rice is going to a different club every week, according to the gossip. Going on for 2 years. Mate, it's been going on for even longer than that. He's been going to Man City. He's been going to Chelsea. He's going to Real Madrid. He's been going to Arsenal now. He'll end up going to Newcastle. Of course he will. Every team wants him. Until someone puts an offer in for him, he ain't going anywhere. Gary, I kind of feel like teams like City. But players just so... they buy players so that other teams can't. I'm not sure Phillips was ever part of the plan. A lot of people say that. City will go out and buy. Apparently, Guardiola didn't want Haaland. And apparently they bought him only because no one else could. That is odd, isn't it? Rico, Mandy, no out-and-out striker, God knows. When DCL will be back, club saying what's wrong with him and scan revealed nothing wrong. I don't know what Mandy said. So I apologize, Rico. I didn't understand that what that comment related to. Vinay, still, you are YouTube. You should not promote not promoting bans on social. What did I ban? Did I say I was going to ban? Oh, got you. I'm not promoting it. Declan promoted it. But look, what I said was, that a lot of negativity does get people down when it goes on and on and on. Right. What are Leeds doing? I don't know. Any team from Palace down are in the mix. I agree. So 12th, 13th, I agree. They are in the mix. Eamon, we can't get a reply or a point at Man United, so Moyes has no choice but to go for the win. This is what we were saying earlier. Without a shadow of a doubt, I totally agree. Anthony, do you think Agerd is the new Van Dijk? He looks like he's better than Van Dijk. Van Dijk, who's he? Eamon, I effing hate Arsenal. Seeing Rice in Arsenal. Well, we can put him in any shirt. We can put any other player in a West Ham shirt. It's shit. It's horrible. And people who do that, I actually hate that as well. Thankfully, it wasn't the special. Can you imagine? Anthony, Moyes and Rice are staying. Get used to it. You heard it here first on the Moyes. Don't you dare quote me. That's it. I'm done. Right, people. I'll do one more then, Vinay. Go on then. Still, I'm sure Moyes has something to do with the 4-0 win. It's hard to separate Moyes from his previous tactics of players, 8 defenders, when an alcoholic starts drinking carrot juice. You start to wonder. Let's finish on that. Guys, thanks for watching. I'm off to Manchester on Wednesday. I might do a little cheeky one on the way up there, or if any of you managed to see when we were up at Newcastle and I filmed us from our hotel room, I might do something from that. We've got an apartment between 5 of us. What could go wrong, hey? Yeah, look out for that maybe on Wednesday. Maybe I'll do a review. I won't get back till Thursday, so there might be a West Ham late night on Friday. So do look out for that as well. So look out for something on Wednesday. You know, before, after, during, who knows? Depends. If we're winning and if I'm pissed, it will be during. I might even show you a bit of the game itself. Oh no, it's on BBC, isn't it, or ITV or whatever. So something on Wednesday, late night on Friday, various other things coming up. Like I said, if anyone wants to come on the show and talk about the Brighton game on Sunday, then all you got to do is message me on westhamvoice@gmail.com and we'll set that up. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you very, very soon.